Ladies and gentlemen, Director Sheets would like to start the meeting. It's okay with all of you? I guess so.
Yes, ma'am.
Recording in progress.
Appreciate it. Good evening. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Directors of Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District for October 24th, 2024. We will call this meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call. Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Director Weber.
Here.
Director Sheets. President Gould.
Here.
Director Wood.
Here.
Director Rice is absent. Director Jones.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here.
Thank you. Directors Clark and Sailors will be absent this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Appreciate that. Director Jones, will you lead us in the pledge to the flag, please?
My pleasure. Join me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Jones. Appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested in watching these proceedings at a later date, I would encourage you to go to our main website. Under the agendas, you will find all the information relative to how you can get access to that tape. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion for consent.
We need to do a public comment first.
Oh, we got to do
Sorry.
that right. Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm so sorry to the public. I
Yeah.
missed that. There's a whole bunch of language that comes along with
Yes.
that, and I typically just glance over that. So we'll start with a public opportunity to discuss items on or not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have any speaker forms for this evening?
I do. I have a speaker form from Jason Cahill.
Okay, great.
Would you like to come up?
Jason,
to the
come on up.
Yes. Oh, it's not, okay.
Good evening, directors, Chief House, and people. My name is Jason Cahill. For those of you that don't know me, I was recently, I retired in June. As been a captain here since 2000. I've been in EMS since 1990. I worked with Director Gould at Foothill Ambulance, and I was going to tell Director Rice tonight that he was right. So I didn't want to be a firefighter. If you go all the way back to the 90s, I was really interested in just being a paramedic, and I kept saying, no, I don't want to be a firefighter. Well, I was in one of the contract houses that AMR had with American River Fire, and Brian Rice was the captain there. And he kept writing me, oh man, you need to put in an application. And I kept saying, no, I'm gonna keep being the best EMS guy that I can. And so the day they were accepting applications, he slapped an application on my chest and said, fill it out, idiot. Filled it out, and I turned it in, and of course, I found out that I was wrong. And so I was going to, 24 years later, tell Brian that, yes, you were right, and I was wrong. I was completely wrong. And I was wrong because the fire department ended up being, made me, really. I mean, it was, this was the career that changed the direction of my life. And nobody wants to end their career on an injury. I had planned to stay as long as he was going to stay, you know, but that wasn't really in the cards. So what happened to me is I was doing administrative work. I was doing the multimedia for the district, and I started to have pain in my back. And I kept ignoring it and kept ignoring it. And finally, I went to our physical therapist, and he looked at me and went, you got to go to the doctor. And I was like, no, man, just crack my back. He's like, no, dude, you got to go to the doctor. And then I tried to get the firefighter standing next to him to crack my back, and neither of them would. So then I go to the doctor, and the doctor was like, oh my God, you've got to get into an MRI machine. So to make a long story less long, once the weekend was over, that doctor called me back and said, you need to get in surgery right away. And then there was a problem. And there was a problem getting from, they couldn't get, for some reason, they couldn't get approval to the surgeon. Everybody approved it. Everybody said it was great. Finally, Dr. Rossiter was like, come into the ER right now. And that's what I did. And then they did emergency surgery. By the time I got under the knife, I could no longer lift my hand up and touch my face. So that tells you how far down the line. I basically had gotten the nerves cut on the right side of my neck. and they said it was because I had been hit on the head so many times. I fell outside of the normal parameters of how injuries happen. Usually injuries don't come in at the acute phase, right? They don't hit workers' comp while I'm still on fire, I'm still burning, I'm still having injury being done. And it fell outside of what the workers' comp people told me was this falls outside of normal parameters. And it was people that ended up pushing and saying, no, this is different. We have to move forward right now. We can't wait. And nobody so much as Candace in Human Resources. The entire time that I've been going through this whole process, we do everything as a team. We're used to having a whole crew with us to make decisions, right? We all like to say that I'm the chief or I'm the captain or I'm the person making the choice. We almost never make choices in a vacuum. But when you're an injured individual, you're just in a vacuum. There is nobody that you can call except for HR. And thankfully, they were constantly, every time I would call and say, is this a problem? Then Candace would help me out. What ended up, in the end, they were like, yeah, you're permanently disabled. I can't lift more than about 25 pounds past my chest. And when I bend my wrist, I can't use a computer or a mouse. But luckily, if I put my wrist down, I can still play guitar. So it worked out that my injury means that I can play guitar, but I can't do paperwork ever again. As injuries go, there's worse injuries to have. So what ended up happening is that Kaiser gave me my final state in June, and then they just wouldn't give us the paperwork. And it was Intercare, and it was Candace that stepped forward, and they pushed me to a different provider. And that provider went through all the paperwork, reevaluated me, and then got my final status set, which you guys get tonight. And that made all the difference. All the way through, Candace really held my hand, even when I would call and complain about the fact that I wanted to come back to work. Intercare, Stephanie Gonzalez at Intercare, was always answering my phone calls and always had an answer for me, or would always get an answer for me or give me a direction to go. Nobody wants to leave, but I feel very well taken care of through the process, and I feel very well taken care of now that I'm retired. And I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard, that I was very well taken care of, and thank you. Thank you to Human Resources, and thank you to Metro Fire for everything. And that's all I have to say.
Jason, thank you very much. Any questions for this fine young man?
No questions, but I do
Go
have a
ahead,
statement.
Bob.
Jason, it was a pleasure working with you for so many years. All of those years, that same thing has always been on your face. Giant. And it was just an absolute pleasure working with you. You're a pro, my friend. Thank you.
Pleasure and honor, Bob.
I can tell you from personal experience, you will never meet a more intriguing man than Jason Cahill. Honestly, of the thousands and thousands of people I meet every year, Jason is one of those that's very unique. And if you have 5 minutes or an hour, sit with him and just listen to all the curiosities that he has engaged himself with, including jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. And that's a problem, I think. But we're definitely going to miss Jason and his impact in our organization for sure, as we do all of those. But for those that don't know why Jason stood up here tonight, we will make some decisions in closed session relative to his industrial disability retirement. So Jason, Godspeed to you and to your family. So we'll move on now. Do we have any other speaker cards for the public tonight, Madam Clerk?
I have no other speaker cards. If
Okay.
anyone online wishes to speak, please use the raise your hand feature in Zoom. No response. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to consent items. I'll entertain a motion for consent or any questions that we might have relative to the items on consent.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent
I
calendar.
have a first.
Second?
I have a second. Any questions for that? By the way, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands, number 3 on our consent calendar and consent items is a bit unique for us. And for the public, I think it's important for you all to understand that we're asking for this exemption because of the peculiarity and the sophistication of the hoist on one of our helicopters. This is not a skill set that you trust just any Joe Blow to rebuild. And so with this exception, what we're simply saying is the manufacturer of the hoist is really the only organization that's qualified to do the warranty work. And so these exceptions are rare in our organization. We do a very good job of being very transparent when we go out to bid for items that we're spending the public funds on. But in this unique experience, it is absolutely critical that we have the builder, the manufacturer of that hoist, be the one that works on it so that we can maintain the safety and security of our men and women that work on the helicopters. So I just wanted to make sure that we understand that it's been put in consent, but there needs to be a little bit of, I think, explanation of why we're asking for that exception. So with that, I have a first and a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, Director Weber?
Aye.
Director Sheets? Aye. President Gould?
Aye.
Director Wood?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Costa?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to presentation items. We are in for a treat tonight. We have Chief Renicki with us, and he is going to be making a presentation on the opioid crisis here in Sacramento and region. Chief?
President Gould, board members, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public, my name is John Renicki, and I have the privilege and honor to serve as the Director of EMS here at Metro Fire. The opioid crisis, one of the most devastating public health catastrophes of our time. Fentanyl poisoning has become one of the leading killers and one of the biggest impacts we've had in our communities. It is the leading cause of death among adults ages 18 to 45. Surprisingly, this surpasses suicide, gun violence, and car accidents. Here in Metro Fire, we're responding to over 1,600 of these calls a year. I think when we think of the opioid crisis or the abuse of opioids, we think of some assumptions. And this crisis can be seen as a double crisis, or what they're calling a dual epidemic. On one hand, you have the non-medical use of opioids, but on the other hand, you have the use of those that are just seeking relief from pain. The crisis of uncontrolled pain. So although both are important, and we tend to focus on the non-medical use, the undertreatment of pain can have a significant impact. Related to that, I have one such story. A gentleman by the name of David, who had founded a multi-million-dollar company, highly successful brokerage firm. He managed 75 employees, was happily married, and at the age of 39, David was prescribed opioids to manage the pain from a severe knee injury. Well, he had surgery, and in a matter of weeks, David was addicted and found himself taking 120 milligrams a day, which was far more than he was prescribed. So when David could no longer get a prescription for opioids, he turned to heroin. And from there, his life spiraled out of control. He bankrupted his mortgage firm, he divorced, he lost his family, and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. This is one story or one example of how this crisis is affecting our nation and our local community. So what can we do at Metro Fire? How can we make a difference? So earlier this year, the Sacramento Board of Supervisors approved the opioid remediation activities agreement with Metro Fire, which thankfully you all approved and agreed to enter into last month. And so what we did is the EMS division teamed up with the Community Relations division, and we've begun supporting our community in this crisis. There's many activities that we've planned for and we've had waiting for these funds and to start the process. But to share all those fine details, I'm going to invite Battalion Chief Scott Perryman and April West to come up and share some of those specifics. As retired Captain Cahill talked about how we don't do things in silos and how we work together as a team, that's really where we're putting a lot of energy, effort into how do we make a difference and an impact in our community. So they're going to highlight some of those activities we've done so far.
Thank you, Chief Rienicki. Directors, it's great to be here tonight. I want to talk a little bit about the opioid crisis and how did we get here? You just heard some amazing statistics that opioid deaths is now the leading cause of death for ages 18 to 45. It's equivalent to 2 737 airplanes crashing into the ground every single day in the United States. That is a significant issue. And so this, I'll get the slide to advance here, praying that it works. All right, we'll go with this, okay. So to talk about how we got here, it's not like opioids have just come around. They've been here for thousands of years, well, around 8,000 years to be specific, and they've worked well. But it was in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, what happened was we as providers were told that they were non-habit forming, and we were very encouraged to give opioids at a high amount. In fact, some of the reimbursement rates were tied to it. If we did not treat pain adequately, we would not get reimbursement rates. So we were told as providers to push the medication and to give it freely and that it was non-habit forming. Well, we know that information is incorrect, and it has caused a huge issue because we in the United States realized it is an issue. So what happened is they said, we in the United States are using more opioids than the entire world combined. And then so we said, we have to dial back on this and we can't keep doing this. So we started giving pain medication to people, high amounts of opioids. And so these people who had been addicted to it, we're kind of taking away their supply. And so now where are they going to go? And that's where opioids came on the market, as far as heroin and those street medications where you could buy Norco on the street. But then fentanyl started hitting the market in around the 2016 range. And fentanyl is synthetic, they can make it, and it's super, super potent. And that caused a lot of issues. So in this next slide here, all right, there we go. A little more in the history, you can see that Norco and Vicodin and your normal opioids have been around for a long time and used, but it's around that 2016 range when that synthetic fentanyl hit the market, it just skyrocketed in the amount of overdoses that we're seeing. And also they're mixing fentanyl, it's over 100 times stronger than just morphine. And so they're mixing it with everything. You have methamphetamine addicts that are overdosing on fentanyl and they're like, I don't even like opioids, I'm a meth user. You have other drugs that they're just mixing it with because it's cheap and it gives them the hit that they want. So it has caused a lot of issues. But this next slide, it really points it out, is when they say a little can kill, they're not kidding. 2 milligrams of fentanyl is a lethal dose, depending on the size of individual. Now, I want to point out, fentanyl's not a bad drug. When we think of fentanyl, we're like, well, just remove fentanyl and everything will go away. We use fentanyl in the hospital all day long, and it's a fantastic medication. But we know where it's been manufactured, and we measure it in micrograms, not milligrams, micrograms. And so we know the source, we know the purity, and we know how to actually do it instead of what they're getting from some unknown lab somewhere else, and then they're mixing it with who knows what. And so you can see that lethal dose on that pencil right there, and it's just, it's deadly, and it's horrific what we're seeing. So that's kind of, I wanted to show you kind of how did we get here? So on this next slide, that's the nation, but I want to bring it home to here. Where is it happening here? We're having over 1,600 of these overdoses that Metro Fire is responding to, and it's increasing. These news articles say it all for us. 240 fentanyl-related deaths in just 2023. And then you go into this one right here. This is one's in Director Saylor's area. You had a 16-year-old and a 46-year-old die the same day within just a few miles of each other. And then it's not just affecting the younger and the older. You had a 9-month-old that got into this as well. It's horrific. And so it's not abnormal when you see this article that was printed out in September of this year showing, yep, they're still going up. And I love that that Chief Wernicke pointed out the story of some of these individuals. It's not just the transients, it can be anybody. So I wanted to share a little bit about what do we have here. This is the heat map for Metro Fire's area, where we know where these are happening and we can make an impact. These are impactful moments in people's lives where what can we do? Well, we can do a lot. The first thing we do is we have this wonderful drug, Narcan, right here. And we carry it on our engines and our ambulances. And what it does is it reverses those, it blocks the opioid receptors, and so it wakes these people up. And it's fantastic. And so we have it, well, we worked with the county, and they said, well, why can't we do a Narcan leave behind kit where we can leave it for those individuals? So if their loved one or anybody else gets a hold of a pill, you mean that 9-month-old or that 16-year-old, we have something that they can combat it with. This medication doesn't get anybody high. All it does is it allows them to live another day and get into hopefully a good track of life. In this Narcan, Leave Behind Narcan kit, there's QR codes that go directly to treatment facilities. It shows how to use the Narcan. There's tons of resources there. It's fantastic, and we're using it today. Now, what we also found out is we have a lot of people that drive district vehicles around that are not engines and ambulances. And if something happens, they're still gonna say, you work for Metro Fire, come help my loved one. I get a chance to see Chief House at Costco every now and then, because that's a good place. And if somebody came up to us and said, oh my gosh, there's somebody down in the parking lot right here, help them out. Well, we came up with a fix for that. Every one of our vehicles have a first aid kit, including the chief's vehicle, including my vehicle. In that first aid kit are the essentials, gloves, but also that medication of Narcan. We did this because we have some great direction here. So we're also, besides the Leave Behind Narcan, the first aid kits, we are also heavily involved. This year, we're involved in the Fentanyl Awareness and Action Summit, and that was a great venue. And you have this picture here with our medical director and some of our other employees where we set up a booth. We're able to teach people about how to administer Narcan, where they can get additional treatment, and it's successful. So what I'm also happy about is some other things we have done. We have done an amazing video that we're going to talk about in a little bit that's kind of geared more towards the youth, and we also did a one sheet where it's going to go out to schools and to some other individuals. But to talk about that a little more, you see, I submitted this PowerPoint presentation after I showed April what it was. So I made some changes on this PowerPoint. She doesn't know it. So this PowerPoint, what I wanted to show is that video would not have happened without April. It is a fantastic video. It's on Metro's website right now, and she is the star of it. This one sheet that is going out to all the schools, guess who did it? It was April. And so I just really want to just point out, you have some amazing individuals that work here at Metro Fire, and April is one of them, and she just really put this together, and she's going to explain what we're doing next.
Well, now that I look like a tomato, hello, I'm April West. I'm in community relations, and I've had the honor and privilege to be looped into what is now the Fentanyl Awareness Project. And I think many of us, like Chief Wernicke said, know that person, David, or whatever his name is to me or you or everyone else in our community. And so with an ounce of prevention is, I should say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. We believe that too. And so part of our outreach is with schools. We're targeting youth. We would like to get the awareness and the education to, youth in our community, and we started the rollout of this program with Alberta, Twin Rivers, Elk Grove Unified School District, Center Joint, Sac City, as you can see, and specifically Folsom Cordova and San Juan Unified. We worked with them throughout the process to gather feedback and also loop in their prevention teams. So coming in 2025 will be a social media campaign that's specifically for the youth audience. And then we are striving to work with partners like Arrive Alive, so we're in contact with them. They go into the schools already, they have assemblies, and through that partnership, we expect to collaborate more deeply with our schools and reaching the youth that we need to reach. So that would help bolster our school education. And this one sheet in particular kind of goes with the video to give teachers a place to start. And also this would help students take it to their parents so that the parents can scan the QR code. And the feedback that we got from the school district was, well, we love the video, we love what you guys are doing, thank you so much. We'd really like to see you guys incorporate, if you see something, say something. Because what can we do? What can we teach the kids if they see something go down in the school parking lot or they notice something's off? So we really need to encourage this. If you see something, say something. So we've incorporated into the marketing. We've got some awareness information. They can put their school logo here. And then this QR code links them directly to the help if they know somebody's struggling. So if you do take the time to look at the website, hopefully, is that part of our plan? I just wanted to say the video is great, but it's not just the video. It's really the information to get people help. It's really the Narcan that's going to bring people alive, and it's going to take all of us. So we also have the expansion of MAT, and I'm going to say I've forgotten what that stands for. Medication-assisted treatment. So beyond the Narcan, we're going to get them the help that they need to help with the addiction that they may have. And any questions from here?
Is this the end of the slides, Chiefs? Okay, if we could just bring the lights back up, that'd be helpful. So I see that, Director Weber, you have a question.
Yes. On that sheet or any other information, I mean, fantastic job across the board by everyone, but is there a sign and symptoms portion of this as well for those that aren't aware of Joe's getting sleepy and now Joe's unconscious? Is that part of this package as well?
Yes, there's aspects on that for sure.
Okay, but in that, and that's on the website, I can find that information, so the layperson can read, okay, signs and symptoms of an opioid overdose.
Yes.
Thank
Yep.
you, thank you.
The county
Other
wanted us to link
questions?
that.
Go ahead,
The county wanted
Director
us
Wood.
to link it to their website for that, so we followed there.
Chief Perryman, I noticed this video is not terribly long. If you'd indulge, can we watch it here now?
Think.
We've got the
no,
technology. Look,
See what
Ethan's
technology,
like,
it's
"Whoa,
3 minutes
stop."
long, so I didn't put it in my presentation because I didn't know how long.
I think it's
We'd
worth-
love to see it,
Yeah, I think it's worth it.
especially since we have the star here. Maybe she can sign some 5x7 glossies. and-
Well, if anybody can do it, I know Ethan can pull it up,
Yeah,
so I'm
Ethan,
excited for Ethan.
We'll
to
give
be
him a
able to pull
minute.
it
We're
up.
not putting any stress on him. Any other colleagues have a question for this wonderful team? Go ahead,
I have a
Director
question.
Costa.
Have there been any hurdles trying to get this moving and getting the message out? And if so, what were they?
The only hurdle that we had was just the timing of things. As those agreements were put in place, there were some delays, but we anticipated and had trust and optimism in the process. So a lot of the leave behind Narcan and these kits and things were already in motion. The kits for our day staff vehicles, they were already in place. Really the integration, so for example, the outreach to the schools and the video and some of the funding required to do that. But it was, once you could see the videos already produced and ready to go. And just a month ago is when all that, the agreement was accepted. So just a little bit of that delay, but we anticipated it was gonna go smooth.
Great, thank you.
Is it possible to move that up? It took a minute to find that on our website. Is it possible to get some sort of link up closer to the front for it, or some announcement, banner, or something in the front page so it's easy to find and we don't have to go look for which division? I know which division to go to look to, but somebody in the public may not know.
I don't want to speak for IT, but I'm sure we could put in a request and figure out a solution if it's hard to find or it's buried.
Yeah, let's pull it up so it's not 3 clicks in, it's right on front.
Matt said he'll have it done here in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that was a request.
Well,
Suggestion,
I see Matt over there taking active notes,
yeah.
active notes.
And with it
Well-
killing 260 people a year, we ought to probably get right on it. And
well,
sounds
why,
like you're doing a
if
great
you don't
job.
mind, while Ethan's working on the video, an example of our efforts in our program, we just learned of a story where we did have an overdose in our district last week. Our crews used Narcan, and part of our process is MIH.
Video is ready now.
That's pretty cool.
So you gotta turn the, yeah.
Who's ever doing that? That's pretty cool. Way to go, Ethan. That sounds pretty cool. Chief, we're gonna have to, I think Ethan's come up with, he's trying to figure out the reverb. What do you think? Are you okay? We ready? Let's watch this. We may have some audio issues, huh? All right, while we wait for him, Chief, you were saying?
I'll just speak away from the mic so we don't get any feedback. But part of our process and why MIH is also a valuable asset is we talked about the medication-assisted treatment process. So somebody overdoses, we save their life, we use Narcan. But then on the MIH side, we're following up with those patients to find out if they want additional treatment and help. So that overdose occurred last week. And just today, MIH followed up with that individual, explained some of our resources and how we can help, and they accepted treatment. And so we're walking them through that process to get them enrolled for a longer-term solution. And again, this is somebody who fell into this unfortunate crisis due to the pain management side of things.
Yeah, sure.
And so, again, a great outcome and an example right here in our district that it's working.
Any other questions for this illustrious team? Just really quickly, the funding of this project is in partnership with our local supervisors, isn't that correct? Sacramento County is helping. If you don't mind, I'd like to present a scenario to you and see what we can do to effectuate some change. So a community member is concerned about a family member, but doesn't want a big red fire truck showing up to their house in the community because of this, some stigma that might be attached to that. Is there a possibility that if you believe a family member could be affected by this crisis and you're maybe not interested in having it thrown in the neighborhood, what pathway can I use to get access to one of these kits in a way? And I know our men and women are super busy and oftentimes not in the firehouse, but dropping by our firehouse is not a bad thing for us right now, where they get to see some of our aged facilities. That's a whole different thing. But at the same time, it also is another way that these community members might be able to gain access to this in a way where it's not as obvious as a big red fire truck showing up. And then beyond that, I think that the directors would be potentially interested in having something in their vehicles, because we're also known entities sometimes. And so I think that might be a consideration you all might have. It's just 9 of us, but it would put 9 more warriors out there to help, kind of keep this from taking another life. But I just would like us to think about other ways outside of our apparatus and our vehicles and those kinds of things that we can make access to these life-saving tools readily available for somebody that, like I said, may not be interested in having a big red fire truck show up in front of their house and then have to explain away why that happened to a member of the community. But with that, Ethan, what do you think? Should we try it again? Give it one more shot. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, so maybe closed captioning might be something that we look at in the future.
I think
We
April
could all
can
read
do-
it.
I think April can reenact it. but,
Yeah.
Again, she did a,
Well, okay, well, it was a good effort, Ethan. We appreciate you trying to do that. Any other questions for this team and the presentation that they've provided?
No question, just a comment.
Okay, go ahead, sure.
I really appreciate you highlighting the non-typical person that people might think is affected by this, because it happens more often than people actually know. And I think that the stigma of it is really just incredibly challenging. And so having like programs like this, you know, maybe having the director.
Please use your microphone so that the public can hear you.
I just think that it's really, it's a great, a great presentation, great effort, and I really just appreciate it because it's not only impactful for the community, impactful for the hospitals as well. And I love the fact that there's a follow-up because somebody's in a crisis or whatnot, they need the treatment to actually like not have the crisis. So really just appreciate it. Thank you.
appreciate the comments. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Schmaltz, our medical director,
Yeah.
who is heavily involved and engaged in this process to the point of making some of those follow-up phone calls and
Yeah.
checking on patients. So appreciate the comments.
Incredible.
Yep.
And
Any other comments? Director Jones, go ahead.
thank you very much. Terrific, terrific. What we're talking about here is establishing some sort of an Amazon type of connection where we have tributaries throughout our district staffed with that, the Narcan. That's what we're talking about, is a huge positive distribution system in the right sense of the word. And I appreciate you, everyone mentioning the collaborative relationship we have with the Board of Supervisors to help push this out. And one example of that is I led a community meeting last Tuesday night. Supervisor Patrick Hume, District 5, was our guest speaker, and he specifically mentioned the efforts for APOT and MIH. So please continue. This is a fantastic working relationship with all of our local leaders. It's the way to go, and let's continue to be successful with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nice works. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. On our agenda, we have one action item. We'll be taking action on that after we come out of our closed session this evening. So we'll now move on in our agenda to reports. I have no report. We'll move on to the fire chief's report. Chief House.
Absolutely. How good news and what a great presentation reflecting our members. And the comment about Costco, I need to explain a little bit, I think. And it is funny. It is funny. But I need to explain it because I cannot thank you enough as a board, the trust that you have in me, but in all of our organization, to reduce the red tape that some organizations has to go to. The reference Chief Perryman was making was we made the decision literally after an acknowledgement at Costco, hearing about this, looking at him and say, well, this needs to go in every single one of our employees' hands because they are ambassadors that can save a life. And I think it's important to let the community know that all of us at Metro Fire are here for public safety. So the request to get it in your hands, easy. We'll make that happen. EMS, the leadership Chief Wernicke has with APOD and doing these type of programs along with his entire team, as Director Jones just said, is unremarkable. We are pushing the envelope on these changes intentionally for the betterment of our community. Having a chief's report tonight is easy when it follows up with that. Having Captain Cahill come up and acknowledge with the members that are in the room, I see that we have Sean Scollard from 522. He was part of those changes on increasing workers' comp. Chief Law out there was part of those changes in making a decision to get a better TPA so we're able to advance our care for our members. The entire staff of HR and Human Resources, along with you, the board, and a decision to go with an ad hoc committee for workers' comp. These are decisions that we can make in a timely fashion that benefit not only in a time of fiduciary responsibility for benefiting the public we serve, but it's the right thing to do all the way around. So I wanted to start off with that. And Jason out there, he is one of those people, as we all know, saved numerous lives because his dedication to EMS, he's one of those people I wouldn't trust any one of my kids that he would save on any given day. So Jason, thank you. I'll just say this with a few members in the room, double lot too. It's been a pleasure, my friend. So, my official report. I always like to talk about new hires and promotions, so we'll start off there. Please join me in welcoming Brandon Heffley, hired for the position of fire inspector, effective September 3rd, and I know Brandon isn't here. He is here, and I see him in the hallway quite often with a big smile, and he's a great asset to the organization. I'm proud to introduce you to the board of directors. So Brandon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chief, for the introduction, and good evening, members of the board. So as Chief House just said, I'm Brandon Heffley. I'm the latest fire inspector, and I'm actually really excited to be the latest to join the department. I've been here just under 2 months so far, so still pretty new. But I come with over 15 years of field inspection experience with Sacramento County. Now, none of that was enforcing the fire code, so this is a bit of a big change for me, but I'm up to the challenge. Couple things I wanted to mention. This organization has a great reputation. It makes me proud to put on the uniform and carries a certain weight to it. I know it reflects very positively on me, and I aim to return that favor by enhancing the reputation of this department as I carry out my duties. So I realize I'm the one that's currently on probation and under evaluation right now, but if I could turn the spotlight around just briefly, I wanted to mention that I've been genuinely impressed by the warm welcome I've received at every level of this organization. Chief House, Martial Law, DFM Nigrin, my supervisor, and my fellow inspectors all included. I've felt the support and encouragement making this kind of big career jump kind of midway through my career. So I'm looking forward to a long career here with Sac Metro Fire. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon, and welcome. Some promotions. Let's get on to those. A friend of mine got promoted to engineer, Brian Cowan. Brian Cowan got promoted to engineer effective September 6th, and I see him here with his new crew. I think it's 108 on the A shift. So, Brian, if you could just say a couple words, that would be great.
Brian Cowan. I got hired back in 2012 as a single role, so I think this is a good representation along with, actually Andy Field here today, who's acting as the captain today. He was also single, so to see how things promote through this agency from the ground level of coming as a single role or now the MMP program to where I'm at today. So the opportunity there, I appreciate and I thank you guys for that. 108, it's been a great experience. I'm only gonna be there a couple more sets. I'm gonna actually move to 41, so I'm gonna get a whole nother look at life.
Careful.
So, I'm excited. I'm excited about the opportunity that I have and the learning experience and just the growth. And I couldn't have done it with all the people in this room who have taken their time to help educate me. I'd like to put a thank out to Chief House for the badge printing presentation that you did at the station. And that meant a lot to have it be what it was. I've heard stories from guys that didn't get that recognition. And I think that's a huge thing because the effort that's involved for these promotions to go recognize. So I thank you to you for that, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to be able to promote like this. So.
Thanks, Brian, and congratulations. And it's always a pleasure to be able to hire good talent within, and this next gentleman is one of those. He was one of our communication experts, and we made a change in the organization to make a position for a communications supervisor. We know him as Alex, so I hope I don't mess your name up too much, but Alejandro Yabera, Alex. He was promoted to communications supervisor effective October 9th. And I think I did all right with your name, huh?
Yeah, you did. Right. Ibarra.
Ah, geez.
Director, it's a pleasure to meet you. I want to thank Chief House, Chief Bailey, and Chief Johnson's little pep talk a couple weeks before my promotion. Been here for 6 years. It's been great. This is the best place I've ever worked. Came from the private industry, so the benefits and everything have been pretty eye-opening. Here with my wife today. I have 2 kids, 2 daughters, 12 and 8. When I'm not here, coaching their volleyball, doing whatever the day they're in competitive dance. So, that takes up a lot of our time and money. Thursday nights played beer league softball across the street at Mather Complex. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Continuing on, last week, staff and I attended the annual Cal Chiefs Conference in Orange County. And then we returned and attended the Public Safety and Community Appreciation Luncheon hosted by the DA's office. Both of those were great at obviously networking, but talking about where we take not only our agency, their agencies, but where we service the community much better. With that, I'm not going to be at the next board meeting. I will be. I got a personal invite to go back to Charleston to re-look at the Charleston 9 incident from the sofa factory fire that was years back. So I'm going to take advantage of that. And we have some very similar buildings and talk about lessons learned. So I regret not being at our next board meeting, but I will be back in Charleston. Congratulations to the 14 MMPs that graduated from class 24-2. That was last Friday. They went through five weeks of extensive training, and I'm told they're all going to be successful in their future, and I welcome them aboard. And then lastly, I'm going to end with some sadness. On October 17th, 2024, we lost Reserve Firefighter Terry Barnes. Over his 40 years of service, Terry dedicated to the community, saved countless lives, and protected property through his experience, expertise, and tireless efforts. His legacy of service, commitment, and pride in his community will always be remembered by all of us at Metro Fire. He was certainly a man of honor and integrity and dedication to this organization and the community, specifically all of our community, but specifically Rio Linda. I would ask for a moment of silence at the end of the board meeting this evening. And services for Terry are on Monday, October 28th at 11 a.m., and we will have a robust turnout from Metro Fire there that day. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate that. Let's move on to our operations report. Chief Mitchell.
Thank you, President Gould. Good evening, directors, colleagues, members of the public. Adam Mitchell, Deputy Chief of Operations. Before I bring up Chief Green and the Shift Commander Spotlight, a couple items. I wanted to start off with the fact that happened earlier this month, actually on the 3rd, we had an APOT summit in this room here. It was the second APOT summit hosted by our Sac County LEMSA. It was excellent attendance. Some of our board members were there, so thank you for coming to that. I thought it was well received. We had representation from our LEMSA, Board of Supervisor Hume was there. We had hospital executives, folks that run the emergency departments, as well as our EMS division. I would be remiss if I didn't highlight Chief Radnicki again in the EMS division for, they were mentioned multiple times of being leaders in this space and bringing folks together and telling the story of the impacts of APOT on our community and our ability to provide services to the folks that are calling 911 and need those ambulances. So again, nice job, Chief Radnicki. Appreciate that, and your staff. It was a great opportunity for discussion, but also for the first time we had hospitals there presenting on their mitigation strategies for what they're doing to reduce the wall times within their facilities, specifically Kaiser Roseville and Mercy San Juan did some presentations on actually implementing mitigations that have reduced our wall time in our community in a very positive fashion. That's great news. I will tell you that just recently we are moving in the right direction. We saw a reduction, but it might have been 1 month old, but we went from 43 minutes down to 38 minutes, which is, again, we're seeing that downward trend. So that is excellent, and it's because of the efforts, the collaborative efforts that we're all making together to get to a point of getting our folks in the community to the hospital with the right level of care, and then getting the ambulances off the wall to get back out in the community to run that next call. So it is a good thing. We are absolutely moving in the right direction, but we're not there yet. The 20-minute standard has existed here in our county since, I'm going to take a guess here, I'm going to look back for some expertise, 2016? I did remember, that's pretty good. So that's been in place since 2016. There is some discussion in our community about changing that standard. AB 40 calls for 30 minutes or less, which needs to be implemented, by law, that it goes into effect January 1st, 2025. Our standard in Sacramento County is less. It is 20 minutes. And in our urban environment, I think it's very important that we recognize the need to maintain that standard. There is an upcoming Board of Supervisors meeting in the beginning of November where I know that we're going to have a number of folks attend there and listen to the presentation and also lend our support to Dr. Can and all of the folks at the LEMSA on making sure that we can continue to move forward with that 20-minute standard. So we need to be in that room, we need to be vocal, and we need to reinforce the ability for our members across EMS to be able to respond to that next emergency and maintain that 20-minute standard. So call to action, that would be our next movement in that space. So with that, I will talk a little bit more also about our statewide and federal responses that we've undergone this year. Our members do a great job supporting our community day in and day out. They do fantastic work. You will hear about some of that here very shortly, as well as I'm sure you have your own stories, and we've talked a lot about those. They're professionals, they're highly skilled, they are there, and our number one priority is responding to the community here locally when the call comes in. We will continue to make that our number one priority. But it's also important to note that in addition to that service delivery that we deliver here in the community, we are also answering the call when our neighbors need help, and specifically to the state and the federal partners that we work with. When they have catastrophic incidents, we are there. So just a little overview from this year, just so far in '24, and knock on wood, we're not through yet. It has not started to rain, and the fuel moistures are still low, so fingers crossed. But we've had a total of just Metro. This is not Sacramento County in general, which is much, much higher than that. But we've had a total of 29 deployments. We've deployed our OES Type 1s 7 times. We've deployed our OES Type 3s 8 times. We've deployed a pre-position back in early July when we had the heat wave and the wind event once. We've deployed a FEMA resource once. And we've also done single resource and our SAC Regional Incident Management deployment 12 times this year so far. Very busy. That's responding to 25 different incidents outside of our jurisdiction, and also in California, 1 in Oregon and 1 in Florida. We have deployed 130 single resource positions this year so far. Average days deployed, 10. So when our members go out the door to deploy to these incidents and help our neighbors out, 10 days on average. However, we've had 12 deployments that have been 14 days long or longer. So our members are away from their families for an extended period of time, but being there for the citizens of the state of California and the United States of America is important to us. We want to make sure we take care of our folks locally and also when the folks call, like I said. And another remarkable part of that is when our members are deployed, we have backfill needs here in our own district. As I said, our number one priority is to provide that service here locally. So our members have stepped up and they've backfilled those positions and made sure that our responses here at home have not been hurt by deploying and helping our neighbors. So fantastic work there. I'm very proud to say that. And I'll finish with this on a final note. It's a little known fact that when the catastrophic wildfire incidents occur here in our state, well over 50% of the resources that respond to those incidents are local government entities, such as Metro Fire. It's most of the time, it's well over 50%, but 50% or higher. So when our state and federal partners call, we're there every time. And we provide the highest percent of the resources. So it's the Forest Service and CAL FIRE are there too, but we are there. So we are the backbone of that system. And so we make that mutual aid system in the state of California work. We're answering the call. Our members are doing that. They're working hard. They're away from our families. And they're doing great work. And so I'm extremely proud to say that our members here at Metro Fire are doing that. And I'm proud to stand with our partners at the state and federal level. But that local government piece of that system is very important. And we should not forget that we are more than 50% of that response force when those fires occur. So that's it for me, unless there's any questions on those two items before I bring up Chief Green for the real stars of the show.
Any questions for Chief Mitchell? Go ahead, Director.
I have a quick question. You had mentioned this presentation where the hospitals were talking about what they're implementing. Do you have that you can send it to the board?
Yep, yes, we do. Chief Rudnicki sent it, email it to me, but we'll get it over to you as well. We'll get it to Marnie, and we'll show you the two presentations the hospitals did. Fantastic. And the point of that, thanks for asking that, Director Costa, is it can be done. Right? The 1 month change that the hospitals did when they implemented these programs got the number down to the standard within 1 month. And it's starting to catch. And that's what the unique part of this last summit was, is that's the first time we've heard that. And we're glad, and the other hospitals are now hearing that. And so now they're sharing it. We were at Cal Chiefs, as Chief House mentioned. We were in a meeting with the Metro Chiefs, and they wanted to see the presentations because we're really setting the stage with our partners in the hospital, which is awesome. We just need to keep pushing so that everybody puts those in place, right? So
Fantastic.
yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
get them to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Director Weber.
On your deployment numbers, do you have any stats on the airship? Have they been out of county, or how many times have they responded outside of Metro's jurisdiction?
So I don't have the stats per se at my fingertips. We do get numerous responses for obviously hoist rescues, as was mentioned earlier, and that's a very important aspect. There happens to be the chief pilot in the room here, and he's going to smile because he wasn't expecting it. I know we have had
fine.
multiple.
No.
I think we've deployed.
We've had two deployments that we have.
Come on up, Nate.
From
Nate Nowowski. Chief pilot Nate Nowowski, everybody.
Sorry, just
We've had two deployments, Director, that we have covered from the station. There was one recently on the shoe fire that we were willing to accept. The biggest problem we've had is pilot staffing. Trying to get that fixed up for next year. And hopefully we'll have the pilot staffing built up to where we'll be able to support more of these out-of-county requests.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I know the smile, don't go far. Maybe there's another question.
Right here.
Stick
But
around.
we also are doing initial attack, so I think it's important to recognize we do have local agreements with our state partners that we're doing. When the call comes, we can go there. They also come here, and we've seen that numerous times in our district as well for the help. So
I just wanted to highlight the importance of the air ops as well. I know we were everywhere with that as well, so
yeah,
just bring attention
significant.
to that as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Director.
Any other questions for Chief Mitchell? Chief Mitchell, just a couple of things. I, like you, were present at the APOT Summit, and it was very informative, and we congratulate our partners at the hospitals for being creative in how they address their problem. It's not our problem, it's their problem, and I just continue to want to challenge them that they're 50% of the way there. We have to reduce the impact that it has on our men and women. When they spend the kind of time that they are spending at the hospitals, they are not available for that next call. And so while we cheer them on and encourage them to continue to be aggressive like they have been and proven that it could be addressed, it has to happen sooner than later because our men and women are hired to be pre-hospital providers, and that's what they do. And that's where their expertise is. And they need to be available for that next tone out so that they can save the life of that next fentanyl overdose, on and on and on. So kudos to them. We're definitely headed in the right direction, as was mentioned, and they've been very creative and taken on that responsibility. We gotta keep pushing it. We gotta get there sooner than later because we just simply can't do this to our men and women. I can't even begin to imagine the frustration they have when they hear another call go out and they're at the hospital, which is not what they were trained to do. So kudos to all of them. We want to see that happen. We're at the 50-yard line. We got to get to the goal line quicker than not so that we can get back to the business of running 911 calls, which is where we're experts at, right? And I keep looking at my colleague to the right, but you know, she's from the hospitals. Anyway, Chief, and you're right, I know she does. She's a big
She's
supporter.
shaking her head yes the whole
The,
time.
the other thing is I hope it resonates with the community, what you were mentioning about our resource allocations at the state level. The federal's another big deal, but I think it's really important for the citizens to understand that we are not just involved in running Sacramento County or our district calls, that frequently when things start to burn up in this state, 50% of the resources come from local providers. That's a massive amount of effort, a massive dedication from Sacramento County to the entire state. So when you have a relative that has a fire in Paradise, California again, or in Southern California, we have to understand that our men and women are going there to help your relatives save their home, right? So our impact is so much more than the 416 square miles. We really service the entire state of California on the backs of the men and women of our organization, along with the taxpayers of Sacramento County. And sometimes that puts us in a pretty significant predicament to make sure that we can do that. And so I think it really needs to resonate that Sacramento County our Sacramento Metro Fire is so much bigger in our footprint than just our 416 square miles, right? That we're really a statewide provider when it comes to the question of will we step up. And like you said, it's our men and women who step up. But I can tell you, leaving your family for 14 days, want us all to think about that. If your employer called you tonight and said, hey, show up in an hour with your go bag and you don't get to be around your family for 14 days, think of the impact that that would have on you personally as you think about what's coming in November. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Chief. I think you're going to bring up Chief Green.
And one last comment on that, President Gould.
Yes, go.
I think it's really important to note, and you're exactly right with all your comments, and the public needs to know we do that also with never decreasing our services to the citizens in Sacramento County.
Good point.
That is our number one priority. When I hear those requests comes in and it's out of the ordinary and the Chief Mitchell calls, that is the number one question that is always answered. We maintain the capability of our current service delivery model when we also do these deployments.
But I think it's important too for the public to know that because we do that is because our members
Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
the ones that leave their families
Yeah,
for 14 days.
Yep.
And they need to know that.
Good point.
Chief, go.
Thank you. So I'm going to invite up Chief Green for the Shift Commander Spotlight. And as he's making his way up, I heard Engineer Cowan say he's going to 41, and I'll do a little teaser. Standards of Cover Update Year 2. There's a new thing with 41 that you're going to have to pay attention to. I'm going to ask you after we do the presentation coming up because it's very interesting and it's a first in Metro Fire. So
Yeah.
teaser for Standards of Cover, but Chief Green.
All right, Chief Green, welcome.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell. President Gruhl, directors, Chief House, and as my double-out-two brother says, people. Good evening. Chris Green, the shift commander on A shift. I'm here simply to give an introduction of one of the more special stories I think we're going to hear in a long time. In January, we usually come up here and talk about how many calls we've run as a district. It's been over 100,000 calls for many years now. And we try and bring once or twice a month a crew out to highlight one of those calls. So today we've got Engine 28 here. And on top of Engine 28 to highlight their work, we have a member of our public, Mr. Brian Norwood, who's going to share an impactful story. So Brian, can I invite you to come up and join me, please, sir? And Captain Senior, can you please bring your crew up and we'll do this together? And I'm going to say hi to Jennifer. She wanted to sit in the back and watch, but thank you for being here tonight. To set the stage real quick, this past Saturday, Station 28 had an open house. So thank you to Chief Williborn and everyone in Community Services for putting that together. And the fire chief was there, Chief House, and struck up a conversation with Brian about how our crews impacted his life. Simply, I can't put any words into this story. So Brian, the floor is yours.
Good evening, sir. You'll probably want to step right on over to the mic so we can memorialize this in our next national broadcast.
Hello, New York. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. Good job.
Hello, Cleveland. So a little bit about me. I live on Oak Avenue, maybe a mile from these guys, a mile and a half. I live on 3 acres. I'm also a DSA Class 1 state inspector. So it makes me a state fire marshal and a state building inspector. So a little bit about codes. I'm 62 years old, and I move at a pretty good clip. I go 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I have for 40-something years. And last year, a friend of mine, Bob Chomey, he asked me to get involved in the American Heart Association as a hard hat sponsor through my company, and so we sponsor, what the hard hat sponsor does is it sponsors CPR training and AEDs in schools. And so my company sponsors 1 school a year, and we donate the service and we donate the AED. So I'm glad that we're all talking together about the same thing, saving lives, right? Well, May 23rd, and I will get emotional.
You're fine. Take whatever time you need.
There's a little irony. May 23rd, I'm installed in leadership in the American Heart Association. So now I have, you know, all these different things, raising money and letting people know we're trying to get AEDs and CPR training into school sports because kids are dropping dead of heart attacks. So that's a whole nother conversation, right? 2 days later, May 25th, I was on my backhoe. I live on 3 acres. I was on my backhoe on my property, normal day. And I go out, I dig some trench for some electrical. I'm adding a shop to the back, and then I have to go up to Auburn Boulevard, get some lumber, take it up to Folsom to my church, and I'm remodeling part of the church. And then I'm like, why am I so winded? What the heck is going on? I'm thinking, well, you're 62 and you work 80 hours a week. Maybe you're tired, right? So I go home, and I can't shake it. I start elevating my heart and my chest, and I'm like, what the heck? So I call a friend, and she says, yeah, you're having a heart attack, hit 911. So I grab my bag of goodies, I hit 911, I grab my drugs, because I take blood pressure medicine, cholesterol, stuff like that, and I keep my dogs in the house, and through the kitchen window, I see the truck, and maybe the ambulance, I forget, but I thought, oh, good, they're here, I'm gonna be okay. Well, I walk outside, I take about 10 steps, and I don't remember. I basically died in their ambulance. So I flatline these guys according to the reports, and they get me to Mercy San Juan, and I wake up in the cath lab. I'm flatlined 5 more times. I wake up on number 4. If you've ever been hit with a defibrillator, I assure you it hurts. I mean, like it hurt, like I'm laying there dying on the table. I don't know I'm dying on the table. I take the mask off. I go, hey, don't do that again. That hurt. And then I hear the chaplain over here talking to my daughter, get here, we're losing him. I'm like, oh crap, that's me, I'm dying. And then promptly died again, and then woke up the next day in the ICU, cardiac ICU. So a little bit of a story, you know, like, and I have to say this part, even though it's public setting, I am a Christian, and Jesus did visit me in that hospital, and he did give me scripture, and he did comfort me, so praise God for that. The ICU was pretty rough. They put I think it's called a Pella. My heart wouldn't start again. So they put a motor in my heart to make it go. Now remember, this is only 4 months ago, 5 months ago. So I start gathering some strength. I get back to my house. For me to walk to the chief took me about a month. So today, as a report, I'm doing 3 to 4 or 5 miles a day, so pretty healthy. July 18th, I'm sitting on the couch at the same dang place I was sitting on heart attack number 1, and I feel my arms going numb in my chest, and I'm like, oh crap, I had a second heart attack. So, call these guys again. Now they kind of know the gate code and how to get into the house.
I know the gate code.
And I'm going to say something about this Measure O, and I guess I'm allowed to go political, so I am going to, for a second, I'm going to say this. When I went by to say thank you to these guys the other day, Saturday, I told the chief and I told some other people, look, you got room for an ambulance bay. Why don't we have an ambulance bay here? Because heart attack number 2, we waited for an ambulance. What is wrong with that picture? I'm sorry, I'm alive because the first ambulance got there really quick. If we can't get an ambulance to people, they're gonna die. That's just ridiculous, because once these guys get to you, you live, right? They have defibrillators, they have staff that know how to, whatever that thing they put down my throat. So you have a new advocate in me, a new ambassador. I'm going to do whatever it takes to raise money, to get stuff done, to get you more ambulances, to get more fire stations, to get more help. So watch out. I think I just want to say, there's, opportunities in life to do a lot of things, but to save a life, you guys are studs, man. Thank you so much. Can I talk about our AHA a little bit?
You can, absolutely.
There's a kid named Matthew in Kentucky the other day. This story is maybe a month old. 16 years old, he dropped dead of a heart attack on a soccer field playing sports. There was 5 AEDs in striking distance of that kid, and nobody knew how to use them. So he died. Here in California, there is and maybe you've heard this story, she made national news. Her name is Heather Freeliak. Do you guys know about this, the Heather Freeliak? She was 13 years old in Tracy, California, close to us. She drops on the field of a heart attack. She had a bad valve, not like me with cholesterol buildup and age and whatever else I did. So now we have in schools, part of their emergency plan, which they all have to have an emergency plan to escape in a fire, right? Area of rescue or refuge, or what do we call that, right? Now they have to have cardiac emergency response plans. So that's what the Heather Freely Act did, and that got passed in the state. So that's passed, and they're implementing it starting January 1st. What we're trying to do in the AHA is we're trying to do what we call the Nation of Lifesavers. Me being one of the lucky ones, as I found out, when you get CPR, luckily and I want to thank which whenever you guys did that, but my ribs aren't broken, so thank God for that, right? And when you have full cardiac arrest, there's a 6% chance that I make it. 6%. I'm going to attend my granddaughter's birthday party in 2 weeks. My whole family's coming to my house for Thanksgiving, and it's all because you guys did your job. I don't know how to thank you enough other than to say I will help get whatever done you need done. Right now, the survival rate of CPR without the full cardiac arrest is 10% until we can get to one of you guys. And so our initiative we're trying to get going with this Nation of Lifesavers is training every student at every sports event in Sacramento all the way down to 9 years old. Every sports event, whether it's Folsom, Roseville, Elk Grove, I don't care. Let's get an AED there. Let's get CPR training there. And the coaches, by the way, nationwide, 4 in 10 coaches know CPR. So unless the coach is one of these guys, then we need to start doing some training. So we would love to work with you. I guess I'm an ambassador for American Heart Association. I would love to work with you guys to get some more training, get some more AEDs, get some more CPR. And I'm alive today because of your crew. So I don't know how else to say thank you enough, but whatever you need, let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Captain, can you help me with one thing real quick? Was Mr. Lucas involved?
Hi, I'm Engineer Scott Barrett, Station 28 A Shift.
Good.
I actually met him. He came by the station one morning to tell his emotional story.
Sure.
That first occurred as C Shift, so he came by to thank those gentlemen, which are off duty this evening. And he shared his story with us. And we recognized him because we see him out walking every day on Oak around the station. And little did I know I would see him not too much later than that, another cardiac event he was having. So it's just a true testament to what makes a job worth it. We meet individuals like that. So it's thank you for the 40-pound cake and the envelope of Starbucks cards. We appreciate it. So, and that was actually, I believe it was a Folsom medic that transported him both times.
Okay.
As a neighboring station, that's usually the closest medic at times. So it's probably some of the delay. The second time that happens, but that's what we do. We run some of their calls, they run some of ours, so it's kind of a testament to why there might have been a delay that day, but that happens frequently.
Yeah.
So, but you're the reason we do what we do, and thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Yeah, I see a real opportunity, sir, for you to take the lead and participate in a group that is working in the community to get our Lucas devices on every single engine that we have. It is a device that has changed the nature of cardiac arrest in this nation, and it is something that we really have taken a lead on, and I would hope that the men and women that use those on a daily basis would support us in getting the American Heart Association behind that. It would significantly impact our survival rates in cardiac arrest situations. So we look forward to the partnership. What an emotional story. I'm sure that your spouse can agree with everything you said, just that you're here. And what a powerful message that you'll have your family with you when we give Thanksgiving. What a special time it'll be for you. Chiefs, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Kind of hard to top. Who's up next?
Yeah,
Is it the administrative report? Yeah, right? Probably don't want it. I just passed for tonight. Anyway, Chief, anything else?
That's it. They give me a lot of stuff for going after me, but it
Yeah,
really
right.
is. I appreciate. I mean, these guys coming here tonight and be recognized and having a member of the public here that's been impacted. It means a lot to us. We don't often get to have that, so thank you for coming. And to see you upright is exactly what Engineer Baird said. It's why we do what we do. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. I see our PIO is swarming, so hopefully we'll get some of that up on our website. That's the kind of stuff that our citizenry need to hear about. Thank you very much for that report. Chief Johnson, you're up. Hold on one second. Do you want to do that right? Let's do that right now. Chief Johnson, can you just hold a sec? We're going to take a quick picture for our crew. You're going to do it outside, in here? Oh, okay. All right. We'll let that happen. Chief, go ahead. Chief House, This gives Chief Johnson a chance to review his notes.
Yeah.
You better have a pretty good video, because that was awesome.
Mine's like the other one, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was fantastic. Chief Johnson, good luck.
All right, thank you. Good evening, President Gold, directors, Fire Chief House, people. I guess that's our new thing. Mike Johnson, acting Deputy Chief of the Administration Branch. This will be my second formal request to you, President Gold, to move the administrative report before the operations report for any meetings moving forward. If you have that
We'll think
power and
about it.
authority, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, don't hold your breath.
Here tonight, I'll be short. We're going to highlight some of the works of our Community Relations Division under the leadership of Chief Wilborn and the three women that work in that division. They're small but mighty. They do so much work for us, and it's continuous. They continue to put our name out there, challenge the crews to do things that are out of the box and cool. As we learned, this last weekend was the open house at Station 28. Thank you to Director Weber and Wood for attending. It was well attended. Our cancer awareness engine is out and about and doing their thing. Normally it's here at this board meeting tonight, but apparently the Citrus Heights League of Police trunk or treat trumped this meeting, so they're there tonight. And tomorrow night they will be at the Rancho Cordova Police Department one. So, and then on the October 28th, next Monday, the engine will be down at the DOCO for the Sacramento Kings First Responder Night. They'll be there as well as Community Relations. It says here that they're going to be in there reminding fans to be fire safe.
So I'm thinking it's not at the game. If anybody catches on fire, we hope it's De'Aaron Fox or maybe Keegan Murray, but nobody else. All right. Some other thing, well, from behind the three-point line.
Yeah.
You get it.
Got it.
You got it. Coming up in partnership with Red Cross and the CERT, we will be conducting a smoke alarm canvass of the Florent Estates Mobile Home Park on Saturday, November 2nd, from 9 a.m. till noon. This is part of the fire prevention and safety grant that we received, and the plan is to hit 213 of those homes during that morning. And finally, we're excited to announce that our Metro Fire CERT program has won the Heroes of Human Service Award, sponsored by the Board of Supervisors and the Human Services Coordinating Council. This award is given to people who significantly impact the Sacramento community through their dedication, service, and support of human services. Supervisor Frost will recognize CERT members at the November 5th Board of Supervisors meeting at 9:30 in the morning. So congratulations to the CERT team. If you have no questions, I will sit down.
Any questions for Chief Johnson? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Chief Bailey, you're up. Support Services.
Good evening, President Gould, directors, Chief House, members of the public, and colleagues or people. For the branch report this evening, what I would like to do is just say thank you. We had an incident at Station 116 yesterday, and this station was built in 1951. It's got structural issues. Old Betsy was stored there, and with the passing of Terry Barnes, with the arrival report, ops did a great job. The engines that responded to, and their primary mission was to save Old Betsy. But I was in the Latrobe area looking at a building construction site, trying to get some situational awareness that was brought to the district when that call went out. And 30 minutes later, I arrived on scene. The fire was out, but I made calls on my way over there. And 15 minutes after I got there, every single one of our leaders and support services arrived on scene. And I just want to publicly thank each of you for dropping what you had going on. I know that facilities had a pretty large construction project going at 25, CRD, arson, IT, communications, logistics, fleet showed up to move Old Betsy to 111. And so I just want to publicly thank each of you, because it was humbling to see, Chief House says it a lot, show up and care. And it was just awesome to see everyone show up yesterday on scene and contribute. It was a great feeling to know that I got their support and the district has their support and we work really good together. So I just want to say thank you. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Chief Bailey. We appreciate that. And yes, we no pun intended, we dodged a bullet yesterday with Old Betsy, and it's just a bit ironic after Terry's passing that occurred. With that, let's move on to our Firefighters Local 522 report. Sean, pleasure to see you tonight.
Nice seeing you all. I was afraid that administrative and support services weren't going to have a report, and I was going to be next up. So thank you both for having reports and giving me a little bit of a buffer. So my name's Sean Scollard, Vice President of Local 522, representing Metro Fire. Good evening, President Gould, Board of Directors, Chief House, Executive Staff, colleagues, members of the public. I don't know if there's any left in here, but
covered them all.
I think Jason's probably a member of the public now. So I would like to start off, I didn't know that we were going to have a guest speaker, and I just want to, I stepped aside and thank the gentleman that came to share his story. I think that it's amazing for him to take the time to come and share that story. I think that we as firefighters don't like the recognition, but as I get more involved in this position and understand the other areas where we do need to be recognized, it's nice that we have members of the public that will take the time to come recognize our crews. I think that just like me and everybody else will admit, like we're just doing our jobs, but that was a very impactful story, and I really appreciate him taking the time to do that. So thank you. And with that, I'm gonna go off cusp a little bit because there's some things that I was gonna talk about, but I'd like to just keep the highlights that were already mentioned this evening. I think there's a time and place, and there was some very impactful things that were mentioned this evening, so I don't want to take away from that. But I would like to give our condolences to the Barnes family, and thank you, Chief House, for the notification on that. I think he was a very impactful, instrumental person in this organization. And those of you that ever did hose testing out at Station 111, I don't know how he knew that we were doing hose testing out there, but he would always show up and start doing it with us, rolling LDH, teaching you guys how to operate the hose tester. I mean, he was always there, and he was always helping. He didn't let age get in his way of doing that, you know. So I appreciate the time that I got to spend with him, and I think he lived a great life, and we're going to remember him for that. So, additionally, Jason, we go way back. Jason, just like Chief House, was a mentor of mine at Station 109. I think he was amazing to look up to. Thank you very much for everything that you did for me in my career. Mentoring me, paramedic skills, being a supporter, always in my corner, so thank you for that. Let's see. There was a couple things that happened. This week's been busy. It's been crazy with all the political stuff, Measure O, everything else. But there's a couple things that I just wanted to mention, and one of those is that cancer is not going away. And I'm going to pray for the member that I got a phone call from on Monday, that the biopsy comes back and that they don't have cancer, that it's benign, that the masses are not cancerous. But it's hard taking that phone call from a young member of this organization, from any member, but a young firefighter that is faced with that potential diagnosis. It's challenging. And I do appreciate all the work that's gone into work comp. I appreciate the ad hoc committee, Director Weber. I just say let's stay the course. Let's stay the course on this. This is not a problem that I see going away no matter what we do. It's just something in our profession that we're going to have to live with, and we have to be adaptable, and we have to keep working on it. We have to use this as an opportunity to implement the things that we've all been working super hard to do. We've had visits to fellow agencies to see what's working for them. We've had agencies come up here to show us what's working, to give us the data, everything. It's time for us to put that into play, put that into action. Let's take the next steps to do everything we can to take care of our members, because this problem is not going away. I do want to acknowledge everybody that played a part. We had one of our firefighters, young son, about 7 years old, receive burns from a boiling pot of water. They were unfortunately on duty, and so they got that phone call while they were on duty. There was a ton of support immediately from this organization, from the battalion chiefs, from the shift commander. Everybody was on the ball, and his son was able to get to Shriners and get treatment like ASAP. And I think that speaks to the volume of how we rally together for one another. It was amazing to see everything happening without making the phone calls. I did make the phone calls, but things were already in motion. So it was fantastic to see that occur. West Sacramento did have a tragic incident. I was notified on that as well. I just want to keep the families that were affected in our thoughts and prayers, keep them in our thoughts and prayers. They've been through a rough spell recently with the passing of one of their firefighters. So unfortunately, tragedy hit them again. And so I just want us to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. And I do want to acknowledge Folsom Fire Department in this remarkable story that the member of the public shared with us, that it's not just Metro Fire that's responding, but I think it speaks to the level of our regional relationships, that we truly do embrace a patch-off mentality. And it doesn't matter if we're running with one of our ambulances or if one of our ambulances is running with a neighboring agency. We have a job to do, and that's to save lives. And I think that speaks to that even with a neighboring agency, we were able to work together and have a positive outcome. So with that, I'm contained. I'll take questions if you have any.
Any
Questions? Thank you, Sean. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's move on now to our committee and delegate reports. I have no report from the executive committee. Com Center JPA, Deputy Chief Bailey.
Excuse me. Good evening, Board of Directors. Ty Bailey, Deputy Chief Support Services and board member of the Sacramento Regional Fire and EMS Communications Center. We met here at the board chamber on October 22nd. There was 2 action items that were approved. The first action item was an LOU between the Communication Center and Local 522's dispatcher group, which resolved a grievance. And the second resolution that was approved was 24-03, fixing employer healthcare contributions. Our next meeting is here on November 14th at 0900. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We'll now move on to our Finance and Audit Committee. Director Jones?
Thank you, President Gould. The Finance and Audit Committee met tonight, had a very in-depth presentation from CFO O'Toole. And the bottom line is that we are on track for our first 2 months of this fiscal year, as that's the delay in the reports to make sure we have all the numbers in. So the good part is that we are on track, and I'm sure that Mr. O'Toole can manage any questions that anyone has. Give him a call if you need to. I'm very satisfied with the report that we got tonight. And our next meeting is January 23rd at 5:30 p.m. in these chambers.
Thank you, Director Jones. Director Costa, Policy Committee.
Thank you. While the Policy Committee did not meet this week, I did have a chance to meet with Chief Johnson, Melissa Maddox, and Leslie Miller, just to see as we move to the end of the year and into next year, a lot of exciting policy stuff coming forward. So a lot of exciting
Sarcasm in
Yes.
that voice.
But I just want to thank the team. I mean, well organized. There's a lot that they have to manage, and they do a great job. So thank you for the opportunity to meet with you guys this week. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 14th. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's stay with you on board members' questions and comments. Director Costa.
No comments, thank you.
Director Jones.
No comments, thank you.
Director Weber.
Congratulations to the new hires and the promotions. Good job for everyone. Thank you.
Director Sheets. Director Wood.
I'm going to break with the rest of the group here and just say a couple of things. On the, just had a chance to go out to the firefighter memorial earlier this month and was very impressed with that. Brian Rice did a phenomenal job, and so did everyone else. So thank the support that we had there, the showing that we made for all of those fellow firefighters. Station 28, I want to thank the crew and the CERT team. They did put on a very good open house out there. And lastly, the Burn Institute, tying in with what Captain Scholar said. The Burn Institute is having another fundraiser, Heroes, Hops, and Hot Rods, November 2nd, 2 to 6, down at Sack Yard Tap House, which is right off of Stockton Boulevard and 34th. So if you can make it, come on down. It's a great event. I'll be out there volunteering again. We look forward to seeing some Metro patches out there, some Metro shirts, or faces at least. Thanks. End of report.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Just a couple of things I'd like to make the public aware of the fact that our general counsel this evening is joining us remotely. He has been in the meeting, but just remotely this evening. I'd like to thank all the men and women for their presentations tonight. They were quite touching, and obviously there is so much energy going on in this organization. It's palpable from where we sit. Tonight, what I'd like us to do is, before we go to adjournment in our closed session, what I'd like us to do is all stand in a moment of silence for Terry. Thank you. We're going to go into a closed session. You know the drill.
Recording stopped.